As it comes up. As it comes up.
Yes?
As it comes up.
As it comes up?
Heads up, this is the episode where we meet the Quileute tribe for the first time. There are a lot of issues with how Stephanie Meyer has portrayed a real, actual indigenous group in these books, which becomes more apparent in later books, but we'll be touching on it as it comes up in this chapter and later.
And going from that, the tribe is raising money to move their tribal school to higher ground, as the school is presently in the tsunami zone. If a tsunami were to hit tomorrow, there's no guarantee that the school could be evacuated quick enough, and the school is the only place on Earth where the Quileute language is being taught to children by the one human alive today who knows the language. If you are looking for places to help, you can donate at mthg.org and learn more about the tribe's efforts to relocate the school.
And now, let's introduce ourselves. So, this is Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by 3 grown adults revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool, I guess. I am Sophie, and my randomly generated YA title for today is A Song of Dungeons and Druids.
Oh, I thought that was going somewhere else for a second.
I know.
Oh, man.
You can't just have of dungeons and then it not be dragons.
Well, then you said and I was like, it's gonna do it. It's gonna. And then
No. Can you imagine if the random generation had done that for us?
Oh man, that would have been really good.
A Song of Dungeons and Druids 100% sounds like it's in the George R.R. Martin franchise, though.
100%.
It's the next one.
Yep.
But he'll never write.
No, he'll die before then.
Tea.
Yeah, and as such, I'm not interested in what it's about. So, who's next?
It's me! I'm Sam, and my randomly generated title that I definitely handpicked because it was perfect is
Sam.
A Parade of Passion and Kelp.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, not sorry, but it is me as a book title.
Yeah, that's
a book about
Sam.
you.
It's just
yeah.
Sam in real life, an experience.
Exactly! I like that. Sam in real life, an experience.
Yeah.
Well, I am Hannah, and I also have a book about Sam as my randomly generated title. It's A Vice of Knights and Bookstores.
Oh! That is your vice.
Knights and bookstores? Like, dang, Sam.
But it's only if the knights hate the bookstores at the beginning.
I've created a brand for myself.
What if it's like a really handsome, swoon-worthy knight who takes you on a bookstore date and buys you a bunch of beautiful hardcovers?
I would die. I would be like, bury me right now. So long as that you say to the Starbucks person, oh, no straw, please.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, marry me on the spot right now. So if anyone actually wants to date me and you want a second date, take me to a bookstore and buy me books because you will be guaranteed to get a second date.
You didn't have to say that first part, so just believing me.
I feel like that goes for all 3 of us, no?
Yeah,
you would get at least 2 dates if you bought me some books.
You would get as many dates as you kept buying me books, honestly.
Good point.
Yeah, same.
Let's get into some chapters. We've just got one for each for the 2 books today, and they're actually about completely different things, which is really exciting.
Yay!
Yeah. How about we do Twilight first, as always, as though that was a surprise.
Yay! So chapter 6 of Twilight. I don't remember what the chapter's called, but here's your summary.
It's called Scary Stories.
Scary Stories. Okay, so did anyone else do exactly what Bella did, where you knew your high school crush wouldn't be at school, yet you still held out hope, and that it was a lie, and that you would just hope he would magically show up? No? Just me?
No, all of us.
Okay. All of us, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay,
yeah.
Good. Anyways, Chapter 6 brings us to the beach party at La Push, where we first meet some of the characters from the Quileute tribe, and we get our first introduction of Jacob. In short, Bella and Jacob reconnect. Jacob tells Bella about the werewolf and vampire legends surrounding the tribe and the Cullens, all while Bella tries to flirt with Jacob, who shamelessly falls for the flirting. Also, Shout out to the tide pools, because I wish
Heck
I
yeah.
was out exploring some
Mhm.
some
I thought you
tide
said
pools.
exploiting, and I was like, Sam, no.
Damn.
I am struggling with the words today, but I wish I was out exploring some tide pools in the Pacific Northwest right now.
Don't we all wish we were doing that?
I know.
Yeah. Now that we've all made ourselves wistful, let's talk about Midnight Sun. This chapter of Midnight Sun is called Melody, and Edward drives his family home after the blood lab incident, and we get a look into what vampires do in their downtime. Alice designs clothes, Esme designs buildings, Rosalie works on her cars, Evan and Jasper play 5D chess, and Edward plays music.
That's all. That's all they do
Yeah,
for 100 years.
it seems like that's all they do. Rosalie also sulks, to be fair.
Mhm.
Which is cool. Anyway, Edward writes his lullaby, which makes Esme happy and hilariously makes Rosalie jealous. Then Edward and Emmett go on their hunting trip, and Edward once again catastrophizes all of the things that could happen to Bella, a human, while Emmett's attitude can be summarized as bro chill. Also, also we get the reveal that characters we meet later in the Twilight series, Jasper's friends Peter and Charlotte, will be visiting Forks over the next week.
Fun.
Yeah, 2 different scenes, which I really appreciate.
So exciting.
Yeah, so the most important part of the Twilight chapter, at least, takes place on First Beach and La Push, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
There's some obvious issues here that come up with how Stephanie Meyer has chosen to portray and then also, involve the Quileute tribe, and by that I mean not at all, in writing her book. And so this comes up more in the later books, especially New Moon, but we're going to talk about it a bit here because this is where we first meet them, and it's going to come up more, so we might as well just say it all right here first. There are 2 major issues with, there's many, but like the 2 big ones are Stephanie Meyer never consulted or asked permission or like provided any remuneration or acknowledgement to the tribe at all. Even today, there's still been none. So that the franchise got billions of dollars, right? From the books, the movies, and the merchandise that all had the Quileute name on it, and they've received none of it, which is just unacceptable. Yeah, and like the second is in just the overarching portrayal. If you're writing a group you don't know anything about, hire sensitivity readers or experts, everybody, please. Yeah, the major one comes up in the contrast of like this hyper white family of vampires in which the love triangle is heavily weighted. Yeah, being compared with the Native American quote unquote savage wolf pack, which is really just perpetuating super harmful stereotypes of Native Americans. Super shitty. But like we are 3 white non-Indigenous Canadians, so while we've been trying to educate ourselves from Quileute and other Indigenous sources, obviously we are not experts and we don't have the perspective to speak on this. So yeah, we encourage you to maybe do some research yourself. We'll have some links later. And yeah.
We'll put some stuff on social media.
But though we are not able to speak with confidence on this subject very much, we can speak with confidence on terrible YA. So let's get into more of this chapter. Where should we start?
Bella's reaction to seeing the sun as like somebody who also lives in a rainy place is like exactly the same as mine. It's almost like a religious experience for her to like open the window and see the sun. It's like, oh my god, like the sun is shining, it's gonna be a great day. I was like, yeah, I feel you, Bella. I also wish the sun came out more often.
Yeah, as somebody who lived in Newfoundland for 2.5 years, I also understand this heavily.
Yeah, weather-related mood swings are a thing.
So real. Just
so
wait.
real.
As we go into winter, I'm just like, oh no. Oh no, the mood swings. They come.
I have a sunlight.
Oh, I need one of those. You'll have to tell us how that goes.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
But yeah, the sun comes out and they go to the beach, and like, I want to go to the beach.
God, I love going to the beach.
The description that Stephanie Meyer gives of this beach is, again, like almost spiritual. It's probably my favorite thing that's happened in this Twilight book so far. It made me very, I don't know, cheerfully melancholic almost.
Want to break us off a piece of that? Because I don't remember it.
It's kind of a long paragraph, but a nice little taste of what I like about it is islands rose out of the steel harbor waters with sheer cliff sides, reaching to uneven summits and crowned with austere soaring firs. The beach had only a thin border of actual sand at the water's edge, after which it grew into millions of large, smooth stones that looked uniformly gray from a distance, but up close were every shade a stone could be: terracotta, sea green, lavender, blue gray, dull gold. And I was like, oh, take me there immediately. Put me in a kayak. Like, I need to be there right now.
Hey, do you think the reason we all had a spiritual experience reading this is because we were like, we hate sandy beaches. Give me some rocks.
I love sandy beaches.
Tide pools. Okay. Well, okay, but if you had the choice between
it would
a
depend
sandy
on what
one.
Okay. On the West Coast, definitely a rocky beach. I live on the East Coast where, like, we don't have as much, like, interesting tidal zonation and, like, tide pool life as they do on the Pacific Ocean.
Great point.
Yeah. So where I live, I like sandy beaches. Were I to visit the Pacific Northwest, I want to go to this beach specifically.
That's fair. I have a super important question about the tide pool parts.
Okay.
And it's one sentence that I just really need everyone to think about once I find it.
Uh-oh.
There's one part where Bella is looking down into a tide pool and she talks about anemones, shells, crabs, starfish, and then she says, while one small black eel with white racing stripes wove through the bright green weeds. And I want to ask you guys what species you think this is.
I spent half an hour last night trying to figure out what species
Me too.
this was.
I have some very strong contenders, but we're going to get it right out there. The one she was thinking of is probably one she saw at an aquarium, which is a zebra moray, right? Like the black eel with white stripes. It's Indo-Pacific and found also near Hawaii. They're really common in aquariums. They're little morays that are black and white, stripy. Like, yeah.
I was thinking maybe she had, like, somehow gotten it mixed up that there were, like, American eels in the Pacific Northwest. Because they don't have stripes, but, like, they're dark and have pale underbellies and, like, are at least present in northern North America.
Yeah, it was.
They shouldn't be on the West Coast.
The black and white, like, not even just like brown or mottled or anything like that. Like, just black with white stripes.
It's so specific and so inappropriate.
Yeah. So I looked up a lot of tiny fish that are eel shaped that live in the Pacific Northwest.
Uh-huh.
I had some real strong contenders. I had some gunnels, which are basically little eel fish that have flat little faces. But
not eels.
I said eel fish. They're like eely fish. Eels doesn't mean anything, right?
Eel specifically means Anguillidae, which are like American eels and European eels, and most other eels are not actually true eels, but they are anguilliform, which means shaped like an eel.
Exactly. Because everyone says moray eel, but they're not really eels.
No.
Yeah.
They're not true eels.
So I also had some war bonnets, but they're like pretty decorated.
Speaking of inappropriate indigenous representation.
Yeah.
Calling a fish a war bonnet.
Yep. There's also some ronquils, but the one that I thought had the best chance for being what she actually meant was the blue-barred prickleback, which we can all look up right now if you want.
Let me just Google that real quick. Honestly, I looked at the wrymouths and wolf eels and I was like, well, it's neither of these, clearly, so there's nothing else that's an eel out there. I don't know what she's talking about. Oh, this is cute.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like an eel or have racing stripes, but, like, it's pretty cute.
It's like a long wiggly fish, and it's got the white stripes.
Yeah, it has, like, barcode stripes rather than racing stripes.
Exactly. So it's got, like, black fins, it's got a black tail, it's got a black, like, dorsal fin. It's a very long one. So it's got the black, it's got the white. That's sort of what I think she's talking about.
Okay.
If anyone was wondering, pretty sure she was talking about a blue-barred prickleback. I spent half an hour looking this up.
I just got really cranky yesterday trying to figure out specifically if there are American eels in the Pacific Northwest, because there are so many sources that says, like, these are fish that you might find in Washington, but Washington is not part of the American eel range. Like, they breed in the Atlantic Ocean and then travel upstream to live most of their lives in rivers. They're like the opposite of salmon. But they don't go that far west.
This is like that time someone found a piranha in a lake in Ontario, and now they have to include it in Ontario fish guides because they're like, well, it could be there again. It's like, no, someone just threw it in there by accident.
How do you accidentally lose a piranha in a lake?
Well, people have them as pets.
I guess.
And
they
so
just
they
dump them in a
dump them in a lake. You know, like
Yeah.
your goldfish.
Don't dump your pets.
Hey, don't put animals in the wild. Don't release your... I don't care if it's a snail or a fish or a dog. Don't just release it into the wild. Next thing that I think we should talk about is of what the fuck. We've talked about this so many times. Why can Stephanie Meyer not write a female character who isn't a total asshole?
Yeah, like this is the first time we properly meet Lauren, right?
Yeah.
Why is she just all of a sudden a giant bitch?
Okay, listen. I was not a popular child in any variant of school, except maybe university, but even that's up for question. But, like, people weren't this level of asshole to me, ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people were to me, but...
Yeah.
But not in high school. Like, when you're 13, everybody is a jerk. But by the time you're 17, you should know how to act like a human.
Also, like, people were jerks to me in the way that they were jerks to, like, a lot of uncool people. And then these people are just all assholes to only Bella.
Yeah.
Like, they just decide out of nowhere that they hate her.
It all stems, though, from jealousy. They all can't stand Bella because all the guys are dropping everything in their lives because they think she's like the most beautiful thing ever because they never went to middle school with her. So they never had to, like, I don't know, see her through her awkward phase. And so, like, to all of them, it's like, oh, she's fresh meat. And so that automatically is just like, oh, we must hate her, which I hate.
Yeah, this all the boys love her, all the girls hate her dynamic is tired, uninteresting, and troublesome.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing good about it. We can retire this trope.
Yeah. It's like
Get rid of it.
it's the facet of she's not like other girls, which thereby means she's one of the boys. The boys like to hang out with her and the girls hate her. Oh, she just doesn't get girls. Like, girls are just so dramatic and hard to talk to. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna die.
Have these people, I mean, yes, but also have these people ever met a man?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've talked about this before, but it comes up every single chapter.
It's just because it's so frustrating. It's like,
Yeah.
I had a best friend in high school, and she always got the attention of every single guy that, like, we met or all of a sudden became friends with. Like, I was always second best compared to her. But she was still my best friend. I still, like, loved her to death. I honestly, it had a few insecurity things with me, and, like, it got to me a few times. But I never put that on her. Like,
yeah, it's not her fault, right?
No, it wasn't her fault that, like, the guys found her prettier or, like, wanted to talk to her more than me. And so, yeah, I took it out on myself more than I should have as a teenager, but I never put that on her. It was never her fault. So I hate this dynamic that it's like, just because a boy doesn't like you gives you reason to hate a girl. Like, no, that's not what this should be.
There's no reason to hate somebody because of the way other people treat them. Yeah. Don't like somebody because of their own actions, not because of other people's actions.
Exactly.
This is going to keep coming up throughout Twilight, I think.
It's just what she, like, relied so heavily on, that, like, Bella was this unique thing, and it was at the time where it's like, yeah, let's pit girls against girls. And it's like, no, raise each other up.
Yeah.
Like my mom does, saying that we're all beautiful and funny. Just remember that, guys.
Our number one fan.
Our number one fan, Sam's mom. Hi, Sam's mom. Thank you for your support.
Yeah. And at least like right after, there's another moment of Angela, who's the best person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where it's just, she was a restful kind of person to be around.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. But it's also like, I almost feel like it's part of the same because Angela never talks. Like, you never hear anything from her. It's just like, Angela exists and I sat next to her and I liked it. And it's like, yeah, well, what did she say? What did you talk about? Like, because it seems like all we can talk about is when women are nitpicking and being snide. And it's like, okay,
every single female character we've met so far and every single one I can remember going forward in the series is either the jealous, snippy one or the quiet, pure one who doesn't really have another personality trait. The only one who deviates from that model is Alice.
Yeah. I'm wondering if part of this is to just drive Bella away from humans, right? Like she's
Maybe.
trying to make these humans as awful as possible.
But like they can be awful in different ways. They don't all have to
Yeah.
be terrible in the exact same way.
Yeah. It would
Anyway.
be so exciting.
Speaking of this, like Jacob shows up, right? And I have a really positive initial impression of Jacob. Like he comes across really sweet, really engaging. Like I really like his character introduction. And then they go in to ruin it by being like, he is also in love with Bella immediately.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't remember it happening immediately. I thought it was something that developed in New Moon, but it was like, nope.
It was immediate.
Jacob shows up and has a crush on Bella. It's like, oh
Yep.
God, are you
I
kidding me?
know. I was like, dang it. My note here is because I was Team Jacob. Of course. Team the other guy.
Team the other guy.
Team the other guy. My note here is Jacob shows up already making jokes. No wonder Sophie was interested.
Yeah. I mean,
I liked
Jacob is
this
very
little-
appealing.
Yeah, I liked his little joke about like, you don't happen to know where I could get my hands on a master cylinder for a 1986 Volkswagen Rabbit, right? Which I was like, that's like a funny thing. That was a good one. I would have laughed.
I would still laugh if someone did that to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Notes. We all just pause. Yeah.
Anybody who wants to get our attention, buy us books and make very specific niche jokes.
That we don't understand. But if they're niche, we appreciate them.
My heart broke a little bit for Jacob because Bella was so clearly not genuine with her flirting.
Yeah.
And I felt a lot of empathy towards Jacob because he was so excited that there was this girl flirting with him. And she was using all of like, oh, what Edward did, or like these like flirty things. And I was just like, oh, my heart broke.
Especially like a 17. Is she 17? 16?
16.
17?
She's
16?
Yeah.
A 16-year-old flirting with a 15-year-old?
Oh
I would
my
have
God.
died. I would have ascended to another plane.
I know.
I mean, especially someone as apparently beautiful and ethereal as Bella.
Exactly. Like, oh my gosh. Going for a walk on the beach with a 16-year-old?
Oh, can you imagine? We're veering into problematic territory now. We're all way too old for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Ugh.
The description of her attempts to flirt was very funny and very relatable to me as someone who also cannot flirt to save my life.
The writing is awkward, even in the, like, not the dialogue, but, like, the descriptions of, like, and I fluttered my eyelids. It's like, that's such awkward writing, which is perfect for how awkward the conversation is.
Yeah, it really goes well with the writing style. It's
really
very
uncomfortable to read. Yeah, I was thinking that this section was, like, uncomfortable to read, not just the dialogue, but all of it. The way it's described and everything was just like, oh, cringy. But the similar flirty conversation with Edward was just like flowing and not uncomfortable to read. And I was like, dang, some pretty okay writing there.
That is true.
It's like solidly serviceable for sure.
Yeah, where you did like, oh, this was like easy and fun to read. And then this one is awkward and uncomfortable to read because that's what it's supposed to be.
I just thought this was funny to read. I didn't find it like uncomfortable, but it was like I could imagine this scene happening much more clearly than I could imagine like actual successful flirtation.
That's very fair.
I feel like that says something about me.
Especially for a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like because of what Sam said, I need to clarify. I'm not interested in Jacob now. Let me just be clear.
So the reason Bella is like ineptly but successfully trying to seduce Jacob is that the other named Quileute character in this chapter is Sam, who we will meet in more depth in New Moon. But he makes a comment about how the Cullens don't come here, and that sparks Bella's interest, right? So she's trying to get information from Jacob about why the Cullens don't come here. And I did not remember at all that the idea of the Cullens being vampires was not Bella's original thought. Jacob explicitly says, like, oh, the rumor is that these guys are vampires.
That's okay. I thought the same
Yeah.
thing, and I thought that was just me not remembering.
I
Same
had
book.
no memory of this.
Dang.
Yeah. So that, I don't know, weirdly, as far as exposition dumps go, this conversation was, like, really good, but I was a little bit disappointed that they just straight up and said, like, yeah, maybe vampires. I was expecting it to be drawn out a little longer.
Well, I wonder if maybe in the movies they like dance around it a bit more, and that's why maybe you're remembering it that way.
Yeah, one of the only scenes I remember from the movies is Bella using Bing to Google, or to
Oh yeah.
Bing just the word vampire, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Okay. Have you never heard of a vampire before? Okay.
Like, what?
Anyway.
This is how you're gonna find out. You're like, this guy's suspicious. I'm going to use the search engine Bing to look up vampire.
I mean, Bing probably sponsored the movie.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, in this, like, conversation, we get a lot about Quileute legends and, like, origin stories, right? And Sam, didn't you look up some of those to see if they were accurate?
Did.
I specifically didn't because I wanted to live react.
Oh man, that's like a lot of pressure because it's not super far off. So no, the Quileute tribe are not werewolves. Obviously. And actually on that first beach where this whole scene takes place, I'm grabbing information from the actual tribal website. So there's a lot more information there if you want a full history of the legend. But basically, it goes down to there was a god who they called a wandering transformer or shapeshifter who came down and transformed some wolves into people. And that's where the Quileute tribe came from. But they maintained this close relationship with wolves and dogs throughout history. And they've specifically bred woolly-haired dogs, which they use to spin their hair into yarn for highly prized blankets. So
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I really like that. Sim, did you come across, like, an actual vampire myth, or is that just totally made up?
That is total BS.
Great.
But they do have some, like, vampiric, not really even in their mythology. I'll go a little bit into it when we get later into the book because there's actually a direct reference to something that Bella looks up from
cool.
it. Yeah, so I don't want to go into that too much now, but in actually what I found interesting was the first line on the Quileute tribe's website is thousands of winters before the arrival of the white drifting house people. And I was like, is that where Stephanie Meyer got it from? But I'm assuming that the white drifting house people are colonizers.
Europeans.
Yeah. But I actually tried Googling it and like doing some research and I couldn't find for fact that like that's what they're referring to there. So that is just a full assumption by me. But as far as like the cold ones and like the Quileutes protecting people from vampires, like, no, that's all BS.
That tracks. The fact that it's like based on an actual story is kind of neat.
Yeah, there is some truth to it, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that, I guess for context for Sophie, or people who don't remember the Twilight series, Sam is like the leader of the wolf pack in New Moon and beyond. Do you think he's already a werewolf at this point? Because Jacob is not.
Interesting. Do they say when? Because he's 19 in this book.
If I remember correctly, it's something to do with like puberty, but also triggered by the presence of vampires in the area.
Oh.
So like it could have been, but it also could have not been yet. How long have the Cullens been there? Presumably not more than like
2 years or something.
2 or 3
right?
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So then
I don't
Sam
know.
would have probably turned around the time. Yeah, I think he was, if I'm remembering the movie correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Sam's transformation happen like right when they came back? But I could be remembering wrong as well.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
He certainly has a lot of animosity that would suggest more of a personal stake than like a 3 generations removed
Yeah, true. Yeah.
story.
Because I feel
Yeah.
like if he hadn't transformed yet, then the whole tribe would be of the same opinion because they would all be on the same page.
Right.
But if he was like in the know, as it were, then he would have a much stronger opinion. Whereas he is very firm, and then Jacob is kind of like, oh yeah, I could tell the story.
Yeah, good point.
Because at that point too, Sam, like, he didn't have a good transformation, right? So he was probably
Yeah.
really bitter about that. So yeah, if he was like super hesitant to even talk about it, I vote yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have decided that Sam is already a werewolf based on our skills of deduction.
If we read the next book, it would probably be like, yeah, he turned when he was 18, and it would be like, oh yeah.
Super
Yeah.
explicit.
If we looked anything up about later books or chapters. But anyway.
Nah. Who
Yeah.
does that?
Yeah. I really like this chapter.
Yeah, it was a fun one. I liked it. I just wanted to pull up one thing that I don't know if it is on purpose. Bella's reading Macbeth at the beginning of the chapter. And so I did look up what's in Act 3 of Macbeth. Because it was like, oh, maybe this is Stephanie Meyer being like, ooh, third act of Macbeth is related to what's going to happen.
Oh, probably.
But I mean, Macbeth, I actually haven't read Macbeth, all of it, but Act 3 is where Macbeth decides that he's going to have to murder even more people to get the crown because he's got the witch's prophecy on him, and he feels like he needs to keep murdering people to keep the second part of the prophecy from happening. But something that happens in this act, someone's survival despite an attempted murder, indicates that there is no escape from a prophecy. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting as I thought it was interesting as we go into like Edward now knows that there are these two options for him coming in the future, and Bella's reading this book about a prophecy that can't really be escaped. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which I guess is only because we're reading Midnight Sun. But anyway.
I thought you were going to say, like, it was the part where, what is it, Burnham Wood? But where they, like, hold up sticks in front of their army and, like, march on the castle, and nobody notices that the forest is moving close. And I was like, this is when we are introduced to the third race of supernatural people, the Ents.
The Ents. Well, the other thing I thought it might be is, like, this is Act 3 is like the betrayal where he's going to betray his friend Banquo, I think is how you pronounce that name. And so I was like, is the parallel maybe Jacob betraying the treaty where he tells Bella about the vampires?
Oh, maybe.
But maybe Stephanie Meyer was also just like, they're reading a book everyone reads in high school.
Yeah, it's Macbeth. It could have been any book. She should have made them read, like, Romeo and Juliet if she wanted to be ham-fisted about it.
That would have been too much. I would have been like, I have nothing to look up. I know why they're reading it.
Like, I think she reads it later, doesn't she?
I think
Probably.
Probably. And it's so tragic, you guys.
So tragic. Anyway, let's talk about Midnight Sun.
Yeah.
I liked this chapter too.
Yeah, it was a good one.
They were both good, which is shocking.
Yeah, no, I had a really good time preparing for this episode as far as these things go.
Yeah. This is where Edward has to deal with his own horniness for the first time.
Like, literally explicitly says he has never had feelings for a single person before, which is bonkers to me.
Yeah.
I mean, TV shows and movies and books existed. Like, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of crushes on fictional characters.
Yeah. And he's like, never when he was a human, never in, like, the many years since. Like, really? Never?
Like, I think when I was 17, I'd had about 200 crushes. So,
same.
Like,
I remember having crushes in, like, grade 2.
Yeah, I guess things were different when you were in the Spanish flu. era.
I mean, okay, there's a pandemic. I still have crushes on people.
You know, he probably would have been married already at that point.
It's true. But there was a war.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which, apparently, if there was a war happening, you can't...
Don't you just get married faster?
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Isn't that
Don't
how
you
the
go and
baby
pick up
boomers?
STDs?
I was interested in, like, this very first part where he's, like, trying to work through his attraction in his mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is, like, a common theme in, like, supernatural or monster characters
Mhm.
where emotions or love makes them feel human,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which is just, I don't know, it's
Problematic.
it's like a weird theme to me to be like, oh, I just want to be more human and these feelings have made me more human. Like, you're a rad unkillable vampire. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be quote unquote human to have feelings.
Yeah. I also don't like the implication here and in that trope in general that you aren't human until you experience romantic love.
Yeah.
That really upsets me as, like, a single person and as a person who cares about, like, aromantic people who are lovely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It really bothers me that romantic love and, like, sexual attraction are conflated as being an absolutely essential part of the human experience when they are not even remotely that.
Yeah.
It's something the vampire genre does worse, I think, than anything else. Because I
Oh,
know,
yeah?
like, Vampire Diaries really plays on it, especially in the show. Like, there's a whole thing about vampires turning off their humanity, and it's basically like they go on killing sprees and everything. But what always brings them back is like the love for the other character, and it's always rooted in love. And it's a very common theme in vampire literature that what brings a vampire back from like a murder rage is usually love.
Yeah. I mean, you get that
Yeah.
across like all sort, right? It's like,
True.
oh, it
Yeah.
brought them back from the dead, or
True.
you know, like you get it
Ugh.
everywhere.
I liked it when it was Pikachu bringing Ash back from being
Yeah.
paralyzed.
Yeah.
Other than that, this is another trope we can retire.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got emotional about that movie.
Oh,
Did
man.
not
I
cry
wanna
when they watched that movie because I cried.
I cry
cried
every
so
time.
much.
Speaking of crushes on fictional characters, Mewtwo, anybody? No? Okay, let's move on. I have a thought about the scene where they're in the car. And, like, Jasper gets in the car and immediately he is tense because it smells like a human. And Edward is tense because Jasper's control is so bad that being in a car with Bella's lingering scent is a problem. Why is Jasper in school?
Yeah, that's a great
Yes,
point.
that is a good
Like-
question.
If it is such an issue for him to be somewhere where there are human smells, he should absolutely, under no circumstances, be in a school full of children.
Yep.
I don't understand the logic between these two.
Do they just never get
situations.
that close to people? Because
That's impossible. It's a high school.
yeah, I don't get it. Like a locker room,
Or is
Or
Alice
even just,
like,
like,
always in
sitting
his
next
class?
to someone. But, like,
Yeah.
Alice can't control his, like, bloodlust.
But she can see the future enough that, like, if he were to go, she could intervene in time. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It bothered me that apparently it's bad enough to make mention of him, like, smelling Bella in a car, but not bad enough that he can't be, like, in the cafeteria with her and 100 other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they just have really good ventilation.
Maybe Jasper wears an N95 mask.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
just
it
never
is.
mentioned because there was no pandemic at the time.
Also, yeah, like as someone who can't smell fish anymore because
Yep.
I work in marine biology, that like what Edward's doing, where he's like, I'm just gonna sit in this smell forever. I get kind of, but also
It does
the way
kinda
he's
work.
doing it doesn't work because it has to be all the time, every day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because I leave for a long weekend and I come back and I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
the fish smell. But if I'm there 5 days a week, all the time, I don't smell it anymore. I don't smell fish. I don't smell it anymore at all. So Edward's doing this badly, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what you're saying is he should be standing in her
Oh
room
wait,
every
no.
night.
Oh,
Wait. I take it back. Oh, speaking of which, isn't it great that Emmett calls him out in this chapter?
Yes.
Yes.
I love Emmett.
Yeah, Emmett's like, hey, don't go stalking Bella. You can't do that.
Yeah. I really appreciate Emmett's brand of very pragmatic morality. He's like, well, you either have to like turn her into a vampire or deal with it. Pick one and get over it.
Yeah.
Stop stewing in your choices. You're going to make a decision and you have to live with that.
Yeah, let's all agree this series would be one book if it was Bella and Emmett.
Yeah.
Okay, it's explicitly mentioned that Emmett has encountered like this kind of situation before, where like he found someone who smelled very good and he just full on vamped him and like doesn't feel guilty about it. He's like, yeah, it happened. I lost control. I'm moving on with my life rather than torturing everybody around me.
Yep.
I don't know.
Weird though. Do you think, like, do they ever address why the extra good smell happens
I don't think so.
with anyone?
Do they?
I think like the Volturi had a hypothesis. No?
Because I know, like, in True Blood, they do the thing where it's like, oh, it's like fairy blood.
Yeah.
It just smells really good. And so I don't remember if they ever did anything with this. Like, why does Bella smell so good to everyone?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because she's like immune to all of their powers? I don't know.
I feel like the Volturi had something, but
Okay.
I don't remember.
We'll find that out in 6 years when we get to that part of the books.
I feel like I have a vague memory of Carlisle saying something about it too.
Maybe,
but I don't know.
Next thing I want to talk about is how fucking great is it that Alice helps Jasper cheat?
Oh my gosh, so great.
On dimensional chessboards.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, so they're playing however they describe it. They're in an elaborate game of chess utilizing 8 joined boards spread out along the glass wall. It's just like, what? And Alice just rolls up and is like mouthing what's gonna happen to Jasper behind Emmett's back. Which I loved that.
Yeah, that was a good character. That's why Alice is the best character, right? Because she has character traits.
This chapter just does like a good job of, I don't want to say humanizing because we just talked about this, but like building the characters of the vampires, which is just really fun. Like Esme getting all emotional about Edward playing piano, all of them kind of cute. Joining in while he's playing it. I don't know. It was good.
Yeah, it was nice.
I also appreciated the non-gender norm hobbies that Rosalie likes to fix cars, and also that Emmett the jock played chess. And it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't seen as like, oh, like a big deal. Like, no, it's just like a bro dude who also likes to play chess. And I like that.
I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but was entertained by the like discussion of Rosalie's psyche a little bit. I was entertained and also annoyed. But part of the reason she hates Bella is that she wants Edward to be in love with her even though she doesn't like him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, that's completely ridiculous, but also like, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I wrote, Rosalie being jealous is kind of hilarious, but holy shit, the toxicity.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
And the fact that she is completely embarrassed of it and has to go hide under a car.
Just relatable.
It's like, no, gotta get out of here.
I gotta go build something to hide my emotions.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty nice to be like, it was a girl character that was like, I'm not gonna deal with these feelings. I'm gonna go build a car.
Yeah. And I appreciate at least that Edward doesn't like rat her out when she's so obviously embarrassed and ashamed. Like he won't tell anybody. Obviously Jasper can tell what she's feeling and probably the others can guess, but he does not tell on her, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I liked that.
What else do we have to say about these chapters?
Yeah.
They go hunting. Emmett and Edward go hunting. So Emmett only eats one bear in this chapter.
I was really upset.
One that we see.
That's true.
I was happy because it was one bear, but I wanted to get an accurate representation of their feeding habits so I could model it and predict when they would decimate their ecosystem. And I can't do that with the data I was given from this chapter.
That's so
Yeah,
rude.
we'll have to collate the circumstantial data that we get throughout this series and then try to enumerate that somehow.
Yes.
But yeah, so Emmett eats a bear and Edward eats a mountain lion. And as they do these kind of like barbaric, violent, aggressive activities, Edward mopes about his love life and Emmett asks him how he's going to have sex with a human.
Yeah,
It's like,
I'm just gonna like first before we get into the jokes part. Don't if you hunt animals, don't toy with them. Just kill them fast.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
don't listen. Just don't be Emmett. Emmett's just like fighting it and being like and then murders it. It's like don't do that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other stuff.
Wait, can I give the quote that
Yes,
sets
please.
the scene for this, which is from Midnight Sun, so Edward's first person. Emmett roared back at the enraged animal. I sighed and sat down on a convenient boulder. This might take a while. I love that kind of abrupt tone shift in storytelling. I think that's really funny.
It was good.
I do just want to say that while there is a bear season in Washington State, there is no mountain lion season because don't hunt mountain lions.
Don't hunt protected species.
They're endangered everywhere. Okay. We talked about this a lot last time.
Yeah.
I do want to, there's a good, what do the other people hear of this conversation moment.
Yeah.
So I really want to do that.
All right, break that off for us.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ed Talks.
Welcome to my Ed Talks, where it's just what other people hear Edward say in response to what they're thinking. There's a really short one where he's, quote, talking to Esme, where, Alice is singing, and he says, yes, perfect. And then they finish the song, and Esme thinks a nice thing about him, and he's like, thank you. And there's just silence, and then he laughs. And then there's silence, and then he sighs, and then there's silence, and he says, stop it, Mom, you're making me blush.
Oh, God.
And that was it.
I hate that.
And then there was another one where when they're talking about Peter and Charlotte coming, Alice says, Edward is worried about Bella while they're there. And Alice is like, they never hunt here. You know that. So he asks, when? And then there's silence. And he says, no. You ready, Emmett? And they have a brief conversation about going. But Emmett wants to say bye to Rose. And he's like, sure. And then silence. And then, I suppose I have.
Oh my God.
Just,
That is so annoying.
It's so annoying. Imagine just having to live like that.
Oh my God. It'd drive me crazy. Living with Edward would be like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, but this is one of them.
Yeah.
I would lose my mind.
Yeah. Oh man, did anybody else get like full body like horrified goosebumps when Edward is talking about how he used to have to like see Jessica fantasizing about him, and like the thought of the object of my ridiculous romantic fantasies knowing about them just like made my entire body shrivel into a husk.
Yep. Would die.
He said this once before, and I was like, oh God. And then this time it was like, oh no, he's describing it.
Oh man, I had to put the book down for a minute. I was like, the visceral horror.
It's like worst case scenario.
It's like, I'm never going to think about another person ever in my life just in case they might be listening.
I am really sad about this chapter that Edward goes back into her room.
Oh, yeah, it was going so well.
Yeah, so the whole lullaby part is like, I was really enjoying it. And then at literally one part, he's like, oh, what does this song represent or whatever? And he's like, the story was a sleeping girl in a narrow bed.
Yes.
And I'm like, don't.
Yeah, I had the same thing.
I was like,
My note is, Edward went and made the lullaby creepy.
Yeah, I wrote this creepy song.
Yeah. It was so nice before that. And
Yeah. And then after the camping, he ends up back in Bella's room, and I don't want to talk about any of it.
No.
It's
It's
bad.
turned from a lullaby to a horror theme.
Yes.
Yeah, just straight up. I had a moment of confused exasperation when he's like, oh, she looks tired. Had she gone out? It's like, yes. She went to the beach. You were invited.
The party that you're literally thinking about 2 minutes later.
Yeah, like, you know this. Yes, she went out. Why are you confused? Like, what is happening here?
I did find it mildly funny, the thing he thinks where he's like trying to think about how he could bring it up in casual conversation, all the things he noticed about her while she was sleeping. And he's like, so Bella, I was following your scent through the woods after I left your room. Just some minor breaking and entering. No need for worry. I was exterminating spiders.
Jesus Christ.
It's like,
Oh my god.
it's very like, despite that I hate everything about all of the rest of it, that is like exactly the train of thought that a person follows when they're like, how do I bring this up in conversation?
Yep.
And it just gets more and more crazy.
Edward is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a terrible book. I'm glad we're reading it.
I'm having a great time specifically because we're reading it in this fashion.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah,
if I read
same.
it by myself, I'd be kind of peeved all the time.
I'd have stopped already.
Yeah, I honestly don't think I would have finished reading it if we weren't doing this.
I
Yeah.
would have, because I need to know what Edward thinks, but also I wish I didn't know or care.
Or
The
care.
problem is that I care.
That I know and care now. I think that about wraps it up for our thoughts on these chapters. Does anyone have any thoughts on what might be coming up next?
I
Because
forgot we do this.
the next chapter in Twilight is called Nightmare, which I hope to God is because she thinks Edward's in her bedroom.
I hope so.
And the Midnight Sun chapter is Ghost.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Does she have a dream about
doesn't
Edward
she-
being a vampire?
Doesn't she dream about Edward being in her room?
Well, she did that already, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
This is where she does the doom scroll through like all the vampire mythologies.
Is it?
Ooh.
I think so.
Twilight moves very fast. So
It
the
does.
next chapter after this one is probably going to be she confronts him.
Oh my god, is this gonna be the line? Because I know after she does like the whole vampire search thing, it's the like infamous line where it was like, and I was irrevocably in love with him. Like, are
Oh,
we already
God.
there?
Oh, man.
I would
I
have thought
hope
that happened
not.
after the Port Angeles date.
Maybe. That makes more sense. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I might be jumping the gun.
I hope
But then,
so.
like, what goes in here?
in this chapter.
But like,
Yeah.
okay, but Jacob just told her the whole cold ones thing. So I feel like,
I feel like this is where she looks it up.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is where she dings.
but we don't get that line that I said.
Not yet,
No.
maybe.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
But then that means we're getting pretty close to the moment where they go to the forest and he does the sparkly thing, right?
Ugh.
Yeah. I'm excited
probably-
for that one.
Probably not this chapter, but the next one.
Or the you should hold on, spider monkey.
Jesus Christ. I'm more intrigued about this ghost chapter. What's that gonna be about?
Do you think it's him keeping an eye on her for the next 2 days?
I
Because
hope not.
didn't they say in this chapter that he's not going back to school until Wednesday because it's sunny out?
Yeah.
So maybe this is like him stalking
Stalking her.
her.
Ugh.
Probably.
Probably protecting her from Peter and Charlotte,
It
who
already.
are not vegetarian vampires.
No.
I hope we get to see them. I hope it's not just like Edward avoiding them.
Yeah,
vegetarian
vegetarian
is-
is also the wrong word.
I don't appreciate that.
I don't either. But also, could the ghost be like attributed to, was it Peter and Charlotte like showing up and
Yeah.
maybe bringing up like some horrid thing Edward did in his past or something?
Oh yeah, maybe.
That would be way more interesting than what
Yeah.
is going
That's
to
what I
happen.
said. Yeah, maybe.
Anything to have less stalking, honestly.
Yeah.
Please.
I feel like there should be a vampire equivalent of pescatarian.
Yeah.
Like, what is there a name for the clade that is everything that isn't primates? Well, because I guess they'd eat primates
Yeah.
if they weren't humans.
Aren't
What
they
did you-
just like essentially carnivores?
Yeah. Well, pescatarians do eat fish, right?
They only eat fish and
Yeah. So would they be humanitarians?
No, that's a regular vampire.
Oh, you're right.
Like by the definition, they're carnivores,
Yeah.
right? Like they don't
Carnivore.
eat the meat, but they
Well, yeah,
drink
so they're
the
not.
blood.
Listen, we'll talk about this in the episode where we talk about hematophagy. Is that what it is?
Yeah, hematophagy. Or
Yeah.
hematophages.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
Okay.
that in one episode
Okay.
and not this one. And we'll
Okay.
figure it out then.
Good call. Good call.
We'll make up the word.
Yeah, if we wanted to record for another hour, we could talk about it now.
Yeah, seriously. We
Yeah.
could, yes.
Anthro exclusive hematophagy.
Yep. So, anyway,
Great.
we have some other stuff you can find us on, right, Hannah?
Yeah, we sure do. If for some reason you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. We're also live uploading episodes to YouTube now, in case that's your preferred method of consumption. So we're all over the place now. You can talk to us on those platforms or on our social medias. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com. If you'd like to learn more about the Quileute tribe in their own words, not Stephanie Meyer's, check out quileutenation.org, or as Sam mentioned, you can donate to their school relocation efforts at mthg.org.
And to close things out, as we are all saying with 2020, what will come next? A bear? Get hit by a car? Or lightning? Fall down the stairs? Or get sick? Get a disease? Maybe it'll be fires, earthquakes, and tornadoes, because, climate change is real, y'all.
It's the disease.
Thanks, Edward.